So, surprise, surprise, 188 was released today. That's shift slash chapter 188 of the Metamorphosed to Malleability storylines, if you will. As I do something here real quickly. I have to get some flies out of the house. And my hand just hit the mic there. I do apologize. But anyway, like I said, 188, Metamorphosed to Malleability, was just released today, actually a day earlier than usual, which I can assume is because perhaps she has other plans for tomorrow, which is the actual day she releases it, or the fact that she might have, plans to put out a .5 or a side story that's under the mature settings and everything down the line. But we'll see. She might also be working on a newer story as well to kind of, I guess, keep the creative juices going. And I don't think anybody can honestly blame Michelle, aka Jacqueline, for wanting to do that. But as far as Shift 188 goes, there's not really much to it. I mean, unfortunately, we didn't get a .5 to 187, which, I thought we would. I mean, the way 187 ended, it basically kept the door open for that potentially, happening afterwards, but we didn't get it. Or if we were going to get it, she didn't have time to do it. So hopefully maybe in the future we might get something to make up for that, but we'll see. But like I said, 188, it came out today, a day early. And it goes back to mainly the story. Basically it goes back to the format of the story A, story B scenario, where you get like plot A and then you get plot B. In other words, you get the main plot, then you get the subplot. And basically, the reason that you get those kind of story arcs, or you go back to those kind of story formats, especially when it pertains to an overall continuity in a story, is mainly due to the fact that it's all going to come together in the future. It's all going to merge together inevitably for one big climax. And I think that's what she's building to real soon. But as far as 188 goes, like I said, it's back to, for right now, the story A, story B deal. And what it deals with, and it kind of does carry off of 187, because in 187 at the end, before they went and had their intimacy moment, if you will, Crystal was curious about how many bodies Briella could actually control, since she had the ability to split herself into multiple twins, multiple clones, if you will. And Briella gave off the impression that visually gave off the impression she could control about 3, maybe 4 at the most. But the only catch was that even though she could control 3 all at once, allowing basically the 3 to move about without any problem, the only issue she would have with having a 4th additional body is she would have to, I guess, put one of the other bodies on hold or on pause, so she can allow that 4th body to, do what it has to do, basically, move about, do its activities, things like that. And basically the first half of the shift, which is story A, focuses on her testing that out. She's working in her lab. She's testing, out the possibility of having more than just, 3 bodies to control besides herself, that being 4 bodies. And it looks like she's actually working, things out very well. It's still a learning process. And she even, not she, but we're even reminded of kind of the fact that when she did the 4-body deal along with herself, that it still is, especially during the intimacy she had with Crystal, that it's basically still, like I said, still a learning process for her, because she has to figure out, okay, how do I do this? How do I make this happen? How do I, work around this, if you know what I mean? So, that's her main issue right now when it comes to trying to do more than just 3 bodies or control 3 bodies besides her original. That's the only issue is how is she going to be able to do 4? And like I said, 188 basically builds off of that a little bit by having her testing, the control and ability in her lab while she's working in it, and she's having her other selves, if you will, do other tasks like rearrange, certain things in the lab, stock things, put things away. So, and this is all being done because she wants to see how well, she could do with more than just 3. But like I said, she's realizing that in order to do more than 3, she has to put one of them on pause to activate the other one and allow it to do its things. So again, 188, the first story, it's just following up on what we had or was teased at the end of 187. And it's just Bree trying out, what she can to see how well she can, work with multiple bodies, as the title basically calls it, quadruplets, if you will. And hopefully, as we get closer to Shift 200, we'll start seeing more of her, having better control over the scenario to the point that maybe she can do more than just, 4 bodies, that maybe she could do 6 or 5 of them. But, we'll see what Michelle has planned. But right now, like I said, Story A just of the 188th shift, Story A just focuses and follows up on her trying to test that out. And after she's finished testing, she decides to reabsorb her clones, melt down into a puddle. I guess she melts down into a puddle. I think she does. Well, she melts down to a point that she allows herself to go through a straw and into what looks like a jar or something like that, that allows her to rest, like one of those beakers, if you will, that holds a liquid in there. One of those beakers, glasses, if you will. She decides to allow herself to go into a liquid state, almost melty state, go through what apparently is a straw, and settle down into the container and basically take a nap and become completely still, just become liquid for the time being. Now, like I said, 188 does go back to the Story A, Story B format, Plot A, Plot B format. And it's in Plot B that we get reintroduced or reacquainted with Duncan, Greta, and Pratita, I think that's her name. Preta, and the third one, the Preta girl, the Preta girl, lady. I think there's more to her than she's letting on. There's more to her. We just have to, like I said, wait and see what Crystal, has in mind, like what she has in, not Crystal, but what Michelle, I should say, has in mind, what she has in store for the character. We'll have to see. But Duncan and Greta, they basically reacquainted, not only with us, the audience, but they get reacquainted with each other after being gone for the holidays, being on holiday vacation, meeting with their families, kind of basically catching up on what they did during the holiday, gift exchanges and all that. And basically, it's just, it's basically Michelle's way of reacquainting us with these characters. But then things get really interesting and really intriguing, because we find out that, basically what happens after they get reacquainted and everything with each other as well as the audience, Duncan asks the computer to do a code silence deal. And the code of silence deal allows them to shut down everything in silence. It allows them to, it allows them to shut up the entire room so that they can speak in private, so that there would be no echoes or anything like that. There would be no well, not no echoes, but there would be no like, spying or anything. Anybody, nobody would be allowed to basically, overhear what they're planning or what they're trying to do, stuff like that. Unbeknownst to them, though, there is a character. Her name is Iskatra, and she has the powers to basically do things very similar to Briella. She's able to shapeshift herself into different inanimate things and all that. So she has powers very identical to Briella. And she's been, we don't know how long it's been, but obviously she's been in disguise, undercover, if you will, for quite some time. And it isn't until basically Duncan calls to the computer to give them the code of silence, where basically her undercoverness begins to unravel. It begins to unravel because basically she's not counting on the fact that they're going to shut things down in that room so they can speak in private. And the only thing Duncan tells Greta and Pukatita, or whatever her name is, Perdita, whatever her name is, the only thing he tells them is that basically the original meeting that they had planned to be part of has to be delayed for the time being. It has to be delayed, and they have to basically wait till a different time frame to assume the meeting, to basically, continue with whatever they have planned to, potentially protect and keep safe Briella and those around her as well as themselves. And it's after that little brief meeting that he lifts the code of silence. They exit the room because apparently what he had to tell them in that private meeting is that the reason they're being delayed is because he has to, like I said, he has to basically inform them that the reason he has to delay the meeting is there's something else that needs his attention. So anyway, basically after that, they all exit the room. One of them, I think it's a Perdita girl, that says, hey, you want somebody to accompany you? And he's like, that'd be great. So they all exit the room. And it's after they exit the room and they've listed the code of silence that Eskata tries to, get out of her situation. In other words, she tries to reform herself, but in the process of doing so, try to, ditch the disguise or the shape she's in. In the process of doing so, somehow she accidentally causes some kind of alertness to be, had, and a Perdita girl comes in along with some security guards and all that, along with Duncan and Greta, and they're scanning the room and everything, and they see, eventually, one of the guards finds out that there's some unusual activity, and when they discover what that unusual activity is, which is the Iskata girl trying to escape or trying to disguise herself, basically they call again upon the code of silence, which basically shuts everything down and prevents Iskata from escaping, and she almost loses her arm, apparently, to the point that Greta has to basically, like I said, to the point that Greta has to rush over to her with a medical kit just to attend to her wounds. And then Duncan, as Michelle puts it, has this almost like demonic expression on him. Now, I'm not saying that he's possessed or anything by some demon, but, it's just like, it basically, when she says demonic expression, that's something that's used in a lot of stories at times, books, whatever, to kind of convey how somebody's facial reaction is to, this unknown person. Like, hey, I'm not happy with this. I'm not happy with you being here. Who are you? And you better tell us what's going on, kind of deal. That's basically the kind of expression that's being conveyed, even though from, I guess, the way Michelle's putting it, from the view of someone like Eskata, it's almost very, demonic, like unworldly and all that. Anyway, though, Duncan basically has this expression on his face where he's like, no harm's going to come to you if you tell us what you're doing here. No harm's going to... And basically, he's telling her, look, with the expression of anger and all that, he's like, look, I don't know what you're here for, but if you tell us who you're working for and everything and what's going on and why you're here, no harm will come. Or if you don't and you try to escape... Well, basically, he gives her a warning that, hey... not a warning, but he gives her an ultimatum. It's like, hey, you tell us what's going on, you tell us why you're here and who you're working for, and nothing will happen. Or if you don't and you try to escape or contact people, then there will be harm that comes to you and anybody that you call an ally. So yeah, basically, as far as the plot B goes, the Duncan, Greta, part, the people that, Briella associates with because of her abilities, things have started to, post winter vacation, post Christmas vacation deal, that portion of it is starting to take an interesting turn because now, because now the people that sent Escata, who has the same abilities or identical abilities to Briella, basically, now, the cover has been blown potentially. Like basically, them trying to find out information about what's going on, that has been blown, and now, things are going to be taking an interesting turn as we head towards, like I said, Shift 200 and all that in the next couple of months. So overall, 188, again, it's not too much of a, well, I wouldn't say it's not too much, but it's, I'll say this. As far as Briella goes, it's only a bit of we only get a little bit of a follow-up to the ending of 187, which we didn't get a 0.5 to, which I thought we would. But yeah, Briella basically... all she's continuously doing in Story A is trying to test out, she's trying to test out the, ability of controlling more than just 3 bodies. Like, she's trying to continuously test the limits of what she can do. And as I said, I have a feeling that as we get closer to 200, she's going to learn a lot more about her abilities, and she's going to be able to control more than just 3 bodies. I think when it's all said and done, you're looking at her controlling maybe 6 bodies or something. So yeah, that's all it really was. That's all Briella's part in the story was. The main reasoning for this, of course, being plot B or story B, is the fact that we get reintroduced to Duncan and Greta. We get reacquainted with them and their associates, and we also see that the Escata girl from another corporation, we're assuming the guy that used to be the Dr. Z character, who, well, basically what I'm saying is, hold on. Sorry, I got a bit distracted there. But anyway, like I said, the main thing about 188 is it focuses mainly on reacquainting us with the Duncan character and the Greta character and the associates. But it also, brings in the Escata character, who obviously works for another corporation. We can assume the corporation that the Dr. Z character, that one of the same powers that Briella had, that, basically caused his demise, worked for or owned or whatever. So, so obviously, that's what 188 was about, was not only reacquainting us with these characters, but also continuously, driving the plot as to, what this whole situation is between these 2 corporations, these 2 organizations are, when it comes to Briella's powers, and why one, like I said, Duncan and Greta's organization, corporation is so determined to, as it seems to be, to protect Bree and her friends and her family, and while the other just wants her power, wants to control her and all that. So that's mainly what this shift was. It was mainly to, like I said, the first part of it was to kind of follow up on the fact that Briella's trying to continuously work on doing more than just three bodies, or controlling, more than just three bodies. And then, of course, story B was meant to, reacquaint us with the Duncan character and the Greta character, and, basically, allow us to have a better idea as to what's going on, as well as to drive the plot more further as we head to 200 in the future. Like I said, basically it's to help drive the story even further as we head to shift 200 in the future, in the next couple of months. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do, or to see what Michelle does, I should say, with the story, whether or not she keeps it now back into the story A, story B format, or as we, from a continuity standpoint, head towards New Year's, which inevitably I think is going to be the scenario we head towards, if she's going to go back to the one story format where we get moments with Bree and Crystal, and them getting ready for the wedding, getting ready to celebrate it and everything. We'll have to see. But as far as my predictions go, my theories go, I'm still kind of unsure about Vic. Even though we don't see him much, I'm still kind of unsure about him because, as any story goes, the one you don't see the most of is usually the one you can probably worry about a lot more, or have to have concerns about. So Vic is somebody that I still hold concerns about. Again, I could be wrong. The Perdita girl, the one that, came back into the room after they left to scan the area with the security, and basically was able to discover the intruder in Escata. I still believe there's more to her. Like maybe she just did that to make herself look good, because my assumption is she's probably working for the other corporation. But, she has to make herself look good just in case, in front of Duncan and Greta. So we'll see what happens there. Overall, again, not that much to this one, which is why I think she brought it out early, a day early, because, again, there's not really much to really go on except the reacquaintance to the characters of Duncan and Greta, as well as, just following up on the end of 187 with Briella trying to control or learn how to control more than just three bodies, So it's going to be really interesting, it's going to be a really interesting ride as we head towards 200. But who's to say? We might get more out of this. We might get some side stories. I know that sometimes when it comes to holidays, she likes to do, little side stories, here and there. With the characters, like with Halloween coming up, she might do one for Halloween, and then Thanksgiving and Christmas. So we'll see what she does. Like I said, we'll have to just see what she does in the near future, that being Michelle with these characters. But I think we're going to get a couple of side stories as the holidays go on. But if she keeps this in the continuity to where it's around Christmas and all that, then we can assume New Year's is coming up real soon. Now, she might save that as a side story to get it out of the way, keep it in continuity, but make it its own thing. So, that'll be great, because she has done that. It's like, it's like basically these M to M, as she calls it, these M to M side stories, they stay in the same continuity as the established shifts of the story, but they're focused on as their own thing. So that basically more attention could be put onto the main portions of the story. And I think that's maybe what we'll be getting real soon from Michelle and everything. Again, she's also probably going to be working on some newer stuff as well, which is why she probably brought it out a day early. But she probably also has some other things on her mind, to speak, as we speak. But anyway, though, guys, I just wanted to come on here, give you this bit of a review on the 188th shift chapter, if you will, of Metamorphosed to Malleability. Thank you all for listening. Sorry if I rambled a bit. I've been in and out of the house. I had to let my dog out to go potty as well. So as well as try to make sure some flies fly out of the house and into the outside, because as the weather gets colder, things, flies and insects, mostly flies, they try to stay warm and everything, but you don't want them in the house, which is where the warmth is, so you want to chase them out. So that's what you got to do. But anyway, though, guys, thank you all for listening. Again, sorry if I rambled a little bit. I was all over the place here. This is what I do, or this is what you can expect, I should say, when I do these kind of on-screen or audio videos, unscripted and, just saying things off the top of my head. But let me know what your thoughts are. Comment down below. Live chat during the premiere. Like the video. Check out my Teespring store, as well as check me out at BW Roses on Patreon, BW Roses discussions on all your favorite podcast locations, except for Pandora, as well as check me out at BW Roses on Vimeo as well. And until next time, guys, God bless, take care, and I'll talk to you later.